Hello and welcome back to an Adventure Awakens Wargaming. This is going to be the first battle report of the English Championships held up in Stockport, hosted by Mikey Newman. We have players coming over from Denmark. I played someone who came in from Canada, but was English, and that will be my second game. And then there's people flying over from Ireland and coming down from Scotland. So it was a really big event and really good fun. Event's really cool. We had a great curry on the night of the first day as well. And I'll talk about that on after game 3 or before game 4, one or two. But either way, it was a great event. I have something analysing the reports beforehand and looking at which Sylvan player would be best in race. Now, moving on. So first off, I'm playing David Bowers. He's come over from Ireland. He flew in the night before and was a bit hungover, which is probably good for me. As I haven't got a good track record against Undying Dynasties. I don't know why, it just fiddles in my head. It's taken me a long while to get used to them, and I think going into this game I was a bit concerned about it, but with Encircle and Secure Target, it's big central, big flanks. I wasn't really bothered about which one it was. That didn't concern me. I was more worried about which side and what the terrain looked like, because it wasn't set map packs. It was just whatever terrain was available, and that was us there. Secure Target, I thought I'm going to split the objectives because he's going to be playing in bubbles, and at least that means there's 3 points I might not get, but it's 3 points I won't lose in this game. So maybe I was a bit conservative in this from just that mindset. But yeah, let's see. I've gone over my list before, which is the Druid on a dragon with Druidism, and then with the Avatar of Nature, and then my list is pretty standard with a big unit of Wild Huntsmen. Yeah, so it's pretty standard on that. His list I've gone through before. The big ones were the Pharaoh with Godslayer. I don't really want that charge in my Avatar, or my Dragon for that matter, because they will die. He's also got the ability to give +1 to hit to his chariots, all his archers, and his catapults as well from the Pharaoh. That's going to be quite annoying, especially as he will always hit on 4+. So all my buffs of hard target, -1 to hit, soft cover are just going to be useless. So it's something I'm going to have to think about most of the game. I'm going to be quite mindful of, especially with the Wild Huntsman and the Blade Dancers. And then he's got 2 Adepts, 1 on Evocation, 1 Divination. So looking forward to Magic. I took Healing Waters, Stone Skin, because they balance quite well. It's giving the opponent a choice whether I've got high res or a 4+ Fortitude. But if either one of them isn't that bothered to them, quite good. He's got a lot of offensive 4, so using in 20 routes with Oaken Throne, it just means, coupled with Forest Embrace and Spear on the Blade Dancers, you're hitting me on 6s and re-rolling them. So that's something I quite like as a combo. Summer Growth, just because I'm probably going to need the extra models at the end of this game. With the amount of shooting and magic he's going to bring. And then the Baromanian's got Master of Earth to have that extra healing, and Forest Embrace just to work within 20 routes and give me an extra forest. I did think about not taking that and taking Break the Spirit because of the amount of terrain, amount of forest on the board anyway. But I just think, I still think the Forest Embrace is a good choice because it is such a good spell for my army with that. He took on his master, he took double snipe, and then he whittled Spectral Blades, and then Divination, Fate's Judgment, Stars Align. I was very happy he took Fate's Judgment and not Know Thine Enemy, just because it can't counteract mine 20 routes and make his hitting on 3s and stuff like that, and it just gets really painful after that. So I was really happy with Fate's Judgment. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna be that worried about it. So I'm happy. The big spell there that I'm actually worried about is Stars Align, because if his chariots are hitting on 4s, or suddenly you've got that re-roll and it takes over divine attacks, it just means my Blade Dancers, especially, or my Wild Huntsmen, are going to be in quite a bit of trouble. So this was deployment, and just looking at the map from right to left in the close. So we've got the hill here with 2 bits of impassable terrain on my side. And then I had 2 forests followed by a hill over here. He rolled off 1 for size and decided to go big flanks, and also gave me this side. Yes, it negates my Master of Earth a bit, but at the same time, it just makes this area quite dangerous. it's quite annoying having this impassable, but especially as I've got big centre, so it splits my deployment a bit. But I wasn't too concerned, and he put his token down this side, and I did an hour up putting it in the centre just to see if I could draw him out, but I thought no, stick to the plan, shove it over on this side, just to give him a choice, because if he starts splitting up, I've got the manoeuvre ability to get into his gaps, and if he doesn't deploy over here, then I win an objective, or I draw the objective at the very least. I said he could start deployment. I was happy to drop tit for tat because I didn't know how he was going to set up. Because what I didn't want to do was set at one side and then him sneak through the objective on another somehow. Because I'm still not 100% on undead. So he started with the cataphracts, both sets of cataphracts and the chariots and stuff. What I was doing is all my fast caps. So I did my heath hunters and then my briar maidens. Because they're quite maneuverable, I'm not too concerned about it. And we got to about a point where I had my sentinels down because I thought this is where his character, if he's going to come into my army, this is where it's going to be. And from there, I can just keep picking him off from the hill. And at that point, I deployed first. He's got his big skeleton units remaining, his characters, and the 2 charnel catapults and scarabs. I didn't think they were going to come out here. If they did, amazing. I'm just going to go for his hierophants. So they're probably going to be back here. And therefore, this is how I laid up. So I did the Dryads and the Heath Hunters on this side, and it's just to give me some one, so I had some balance, and just so I can go for the objective here. The Blade Dancers can walk into the forest and just start threatening in the zone here, but it just means we've got a bit of a standoff between my Dryads and his chariots. I've got the Avatar of Nature here so that I can threaten his big units here, but try and stay out of the way of the Shah Guardian at all costs. My small Dryad unit here is in the centre. They are there because they have a champion, and there's a chance I can stop the Shah Guardian. What I didn't realise was that he classes as having a rank, so he will break my steadfast, even if the champion goes. So maybe there's something about increasing that unit size to 11, having a champion, just so that when I do a challenge, they have a second rank. Something about that just makes it really, really easy to do. It's just, yeah, maybe it's something to do to deal with cowboys. I've got the Druid Dragon back here, the Wild Huntsman in the centre, just to manoeuvre around and just really start threatening his centre if need be. And then I've got the Sentinels, Briar Maidens, and this scoring dart to go there. On David's army, he's got the cataphracts. So we deploy the cataphracts chariots here on the hill, obviously. The other cataphracts and his 5 scouting horsemen here with his 2 scarabs here to guard his right flank. It was good deployment because I couldn't really get around them. And these can block off line of sight to and from them, but don't block off against my monsters. It's quite an interesting one. This charnel catapult goes here, and if you see this marker of the day, that's where he's given his +2 offensive defensive skill and +1 to hit from his Shah Guardian around. Yes, I think it's a good solid deployment. It keeps me back. I think he still outranges me, so I've got this risk going on. So Silvernail's turn 1, what happens? Well, 1, I decide I'm going to try and push on the right. I can't go through this army here. I don't know whether that was a mistake or not, but it just means he can tie me up early game and then bring in his Shah Guardian onto my big monsters, and I just feel it's dangerous. I think this is the flank that I can get round, and that's where I start to push. So I leave the Dryads where they are. I probably should have backed up, if I'm honest, at this point, just to give myself a bit more time. Move the Blade Dancers here. Avatar across just into the centre with the small unit of Dryads to cover, and the Dragon just can start making sure his magic is all over the shop. The Sentinels come forward quite aggressively, and that's just so they can get into range of the Shah Guardian first turn. I can always back up if he comes forward because I'm quick to fire. Wild Huntsmen go here. I want to be quite aggressive here because I've pushed my Heath Hunters up onto this side. So if he comes there to block them off, I could potentially get a charge here next turn and then run off the board. It just means I'm going after his, and I can move my Dragon, I can move Briar Maidens, and just start exploiting that gap there. And then I've got the Dryads very slowly moving up here to get that objective and just sit there for the rest of the game. I get some spells off, but nothing major. I suppose the big bit is shooting. I concentrate and I just get the scouts off. In fact, that was the aim. So I didn't do as amazing on the Heath Hunters, so I just threw the Sentinels in there as well. I didn't want them to come back. I just wanted them out of the way, and it limits his ability to push on this turn. UD turn 1, so he's got to place this. He's placed it on the chariots as I expected, so it means the blade dancers are getting it, I think. And then he's moved the cataphracts around just so that they are pushing me away from the objective and able to support the chariots in the centre here. I did move the forest up a bit, so this is something that he's quite concerned about, because if he fights me in the forest, then I do have an advantage. I get to reroll ones to wound. He may not be steadfast. Yes, he's not going to break, but it's just one of those things that he's not excited about. He has moved the scarabs over here, and it's giving me a 17 charge. No, 18 charge. I needed a 9 on Swift Stride with the Wild Huntsman to get in there. And he's kept these guys here as well. Sorry, this is one thing that did happen last turn. The Heath Hunters, 5 of them, caused 2 wounds on the catapult. Boom. Well done, guys. Heath Hunters did do well, and that because I did use the Sentinels on them, and then I used those 5 I did really well. And you can see these cataphracts here. He's really thinking, I've got to protect my Charnel Castle against 5 Heath Hunters. So these 5 are actually tying up 2 units of scarabs and some cataphracts as well, just so that he can use them on my monsters. In terms of magic and shooting, he gets a wound on each of my monsters. I think one was from magic and one was from one of the catapults, but he rolled low for the hits. And then I stopped Stars Line, so even on a 4+ to hit and wound, he only killed 1 blade dancer. So I got away quite a lot there. So that was quite a lucky round of shooting stuff. So Silvernail's turn 2. I have firstly, I declared a charge from the Wild Huntsman I passed my frenzy check and I went, sod it, I'm going in. So I probably should have just ignored the frenzy check. I moved them into here and I failed. I rolled like 2, so it was 5 or something. I was nowhere near. But either way, that's the score at the moment. What I did then was I moved my Heath Hunters around to try and see if I could get a look on the China Catapult. I couldn't, but it just meant that it fixes these units here to still start looking before he lets me into back of my lines. The Brine Maidens moved up. This was a mistake. I had a wound on each of the characters. So what I should have done was have this character within 12 inches of them, and then and just sort of used it as a way to get all those 3 wounds back up, because it didn't quite work that well for me, because it meant I couldn't use Master of Earth to do that, so I had to use throwaway spells for other bits. I moved the Blade Dancers back. I just want to force the chariots forward to start shooting at me more, get them off that hill and bring them around this wood area, because this is actually where my avatar can start coming in, and I just have some more opportunities. Otherwise, I backed up with the Dryads. I just didn't want to have those coming in. I probably should have pushed a bit and set up some different charges, just so that he has a choice of either charging in alone or I charge him and then buff them with magic and go for it rather than receive a charge. So that's my mistake there. And then you can see in the centre, I've just got my Dryads here waiting, so I can chaff either them or the Shard Guardian to come forward and see what happens with the avatar. So all that happens in my turn is I managed to heal some wounds off and put a few more wounds on the Channel Catapult. So what he's done here is he's brought back the scarabs. He's charged into my Heath Hunters, which is a bit annoying. I expected it. It takes him out of the game. I flee. I've got Fame Flight, so if I rally next turn, I can start moving around, and I've basically got these ones out of position. He didn't try to charge them. He just tried to move them into position with the other scarabs, just to block off my Heath Hunters. Otherwise, here you can see the wounds on the China Catapult. Otherwise, you can see him starting to push a bit more with his cataphracts, but he's still mindful he wants to block off any advance down there. He's moving his chariots a bit more off the hill, just so they're in range, but it's starting to work now. He's starting to bring his units out, and this is the gap here that he's got to come through. There's a big wood in the way. He's got to make a choice. But it's still quite a threatening piece, and it's still got a lot of firepower, because he's still got arcs with these 2 to my creatures. What it does in magic is just put a spell off and gets 1 less wound on the catapult. And then shooting and magic goes to town. like I've only got these left in my Blade Dancers at the end of this. It's happened again. The big one was shooting, um, and he just put lots of snipes, and I think he put Divine Judgment on there, which is really clever actually. I didn't expect this, but 6 hits, or he rolled really high for it. It was like 4 hits or something, but I'm re-rolling 6 saves, so it's a really good spell on that, and I hadn't even picked that up. So Face Judgment against Blade Dancers. MR4 can only do so much, because in my head the dangerous one is the Stars Align, and it probably is, but I can only stop one of them, and that's just it, the way it goes. And yeah, between the catapults and the arrows, I mean, I think it was a catapult that took the entire back rank off as well. It just wasn't very fun at all, if I'm honest. So that's just something I've got to keep in mind. But it's effectively made the Blade Dancers a bit redundant unless I can heal them next turn, and I know which spell he's going to want to stop. So my turn 3. So I didn't make any charges on this one. I realised that if I charged him there, I'm going to have significant problems with his cash fracs and stuff like that. I just didn't think I could get out of arc. I'd get stuck on the Scarabs. So what I did was I pulled the Blade Dancers back with the Dryades as well. I used the Avatar of Nature in the centre, just basically saying, look, if you want to come any further, you're going to get charged. So you have a choice: charge me or get charged, and that's your choice. Otherwise, I move the dragon back round to here just so that at least there's only one catapult. This is actually the end of my turn, just so as you see, spoiler alert, no more catapult. And then I brought the Sylvan Sentinels here up. I started plinking off on the Pharaoh's Wounds here. And at this side, these are all out of arc because they're pointing that way. But effectively, they're all out of arc and everything, and they've snaked through. So he can charge them, and I can flee and stuff like that and charge through there, and it'll be fine. But effectively, it opens up his back line, and I'm happy to move through with the Wild Huntsman. I've moved the Wild Huntsman back, partly because I'm going to get stuck on his Scarabs and he gets charged, but also these can move and start shooting at them, and just last turn demonstrated how dangerous his shooting could be. I didn't get the spells off that I wanted to, so I didn't do that much healing on then, if any. So I didn't get Oaken thrown off, and then he stopped Summer's Growth. So I was pretty concerned about this unit now. It's in front of both, until the shooting phase, it's in front of both catapults. Luckily one went, so he's in front of one catapult. He's got the magic here and the shooting, so the Blade Dancers could be gone by the end of the turn. Yeah, this was a roll of Summer Growth. So I rolled that and I thought, yeah, great. That's what, 16, 17, 18 with Master. I was like, yeah, come on, 18, 4 dice. I mean, you need reasonably high roll for that, actually. And he rolled exactly 18. And I was like, no. So that was a funny moment in turn 3. That was quite good as well for him. That's what happens. But it was funny good. Yeah, that's them killing them off. And then that's them putting the wound on the Shah Guardian in the shooting phase, because they have 7 hit points, so I need to start taking some of that down before the Avatar goes in. So his turn. Firstly, he didn't charge my cavalry for some reason. I'm not sure why, if I remember rightly, but I think he wanted to move them into the centre. But it was just to block off this side. What he has done is he's moved the chariots up, but he's put them behind the hill. So if I want to use, I have to go after them. They have distracting because of there, and he's just pushed up on this side. So he's definitely over the objective. He's just blocking me off. He's moved his Shah Guardian up for a counter charge, but he has left it within blocking range of the Dryads, which I thought was a mistake. And I was looking at this going, yep, I'm going to charge in my Avatar. I don't care what you charge in. If you want to charge them in, I'm going to block off with the Dryads. I'm going to push now because the Cataphracts are looking over in this direction, and there's a gap here. And if I get lucky, I could go through them, and especially with Champion. But also at this point, I thought they would be steadfast for a turn. I was wrong, obviously, but there you go. As you can see, his magic and shooting was concentrating on the Blade Dancers. The irony was, it got to a point where Whereas chariots, I don't think could actually. Oh no, they could see. It was just very dodgy. Between, I think his catapult got another hit and brought it down. So all I had left was my champion and BSB. So obviously, I've also reduced MR to one less, and now only MR3. It's just now it's got quite painful. So I know I can get them around the corner, but there was a few moments where I was like, "Come on, I need these sixes to keep them alive." But they are probably going to be out of the battle for at least 2 turns, if not the rest of the game, because I'm just going to run them behind the impassable. They're worth too much points. But you can see here how dominating is on this side. So this is sort of a combination of our turn 4. So I missed this picture because it was getting quite intense. This is at the beginning of his. So describing what happened. So firstly, he moved his. I moved my blade dancers around to here, out of way, but still within 12 inches of the dragon, which was nearly a catastrophic error on this turn. I moved my Dryads up into the forest here because I thought, yeah, this is all good. This is not a bad idea. I can sit here and draw them in. It also blocks them for a flank charge into the Avatar because I charged the Avatar in. So yeah, let's go this run. I charged the Avatar in. I moved up the Dryads there to block off this unit, to block off the Pharaoh. I moved the Dryads up there to block off this. My priority for magic was going to be buffing the Dryads and seeing if I could make this combat last as long as possible whilst trying to break up the blade dancers. I moved them up just so they could have one last round of shooting before the Pharaoh before he got into combat, and then use these guys. He was very good at blocking with his scarabs. I could not get through with the Briar Maidens who were off to the right and the Heath Hunters, but I did manage to get these 3 through and start to plink away at them and eventually go after his other catapult. In our turn, we challenged with the champion. I killed the champion. I won combat. He lost a chariot, and that was pretty much it. In his turn, I did get in 20 roots off, and with Oaken Throne on these, so I am hitting them on 3s. Yeah, I'm hitting them on 3s. Because he keeps putting the +2 to hit on these guys. So I'm hitting them on 3s, and I'm wounding them on 5s. AP1. So they should have a 4-up save. So I think I'm okay in the forest. I'm rerolling 1s to wound. But he still goes in, and yeah, it was the right call. He's absolutely. They still should win because I haven't got any res buffs. These are 1D stops, and Fortitude is not helpful. So that was the way that was going. He's in magic. I can't remember what he cast, but I think it was mainly on these guys, or I stopped. I think I brought out my Binding Scroll at this point, and just to stop any buff spells, I just wanted to stop one of his divination ones. I was not bothered about any snipes at this point. I haven't lost enough wounds, and just let him go for it. He charges Pharaoh into these guys. I'm going to challenge, so I'm not too bothered about that. UD turn 4, so this was where combat was going. So it started there. I lost that many Dryads, and I have no. I didn't do anything. I don't think I caused a wound. It's really bad. So that's not looking good. It was this point I sort of thought they've only leadership 9 without a reroll because the blade dancers are not there, and my dragon is literally behind. Now, yes, it's a long charge, but so it wasn't great if my guys run now. Dryads, they're only leadership 9. That's really not a bad fail, but luckily they passed, so they're in another turn. These guys, champs, so yeah, champ got eaten, but still there, and blocked them off. And the Avatar of Nature went to absolute town on this unit last turn. So I think this turn, I'm going to be able to kill that unit. In my turn, what I do is I charge the Wild Huntsman into the Scarabs. I need to get rid of one whilst blocking off the Cataphracts here, because if he charges in, I can still go for him. I use the Briar Maidens on this side just to try and tie these ones up, and moving the Heath Hunters around to here for a sort of turn 6 charge. We're quite late in the game at this point, so this was sort of going to be our last turn. And I realised I probably was going to lose it there. I didn't want my dragon there. I had bigger priorities. So the dragon got thrown back to here. I just wanted it out of range because if he won this combat in my turn, yes, he doesn't need to necessarily overrun. He could charge my dragon and stuff. So as much as I wanted to use magic in these combats, it just wasn't worth it. I'd have lost far more than gained. So I think that was the right move. And yeah, otherwise these guys were just here to see if I could shoot at these on the hill. We didn't do that much damage, and I didn't get any real buffs off at all. So yeah, not a great phase. I think I did get Summer's Growth off on this one just to get him back some wounds, but other than that, it didn't really do it. Yeah, Sylvaneth turn 5. I don't think he killed my champion last turn. It's something weird, but he did. He killed one this turn. He won. I ran. He turned. So he's charging my avatar in his turn 5, which would be the last one. I kill the chariots in the center, so I've got those points. That's a big 600 point. But he does break my dryads because he's got a rank and I've only got a rank left. He chooses to run after them. They flee. They get away, but it means he's going to chase them next turn, and then they're going to be dead because he's not going to have a turn 6. He doesn't have to worry about a flank charge from my dragon. UD turn 5. He goes in. I think this is the last picture. This goes in. Pharaoh goes in. He's got buffs. I can't remember what, but he just has. This is it. I survive. That's the spoiler. I do a couple of wounds to him, so the combat ends up drawn. He charges. I do another wound to him. I think he'd healed one or something. I do 1 or 2 wounds to him. He does nothing. He does like 1 wound to me. So we draw combat. But he was so unlucky. I mean, this was his role. I think it was to hit. It's like 2, 2, 3, 3, 3 with 5 attacks. Nothing gets through. Like it must be because he had a great weapon or something. It was his role with his Shah Guardian. So it has a divine attacks. Multiple wound 2, and that's what he rolled, and it saved my bacon. So I cannot complain about that at all. I mean, lucky boy. Yeah, so it ends on that. This was what we killed. As you can see, it was quite. I think it was because of day 1. We're still a bit unsure. I'm quite cagey around undead. I think I played it well. I could have been more aggressive, and the Blade Dancers going down quite early was a bit of a shock factor. But I was quite happy with what I killed with the skeletons, the scarabs, one of the catapults, and the 6 skeletons. I think in turn 6 I could have got the other catapult. In fact, no, because he killed my heat hunters. He took both my heat hunters off. One of my dryads scoring unit and the big unit of dryads. So I was up, but only by 123 points. It was 10-10, and we drew the objective. So a great game with David. Lovely bloke. We had chats. It was just good fun. I think we both had good moments. We both had bad moments. I think so between my Blade Dancers and his Shah Guardian trying to kill my avatar, it was actually about equal points. So when I talk about the hobby corner, this was it. This is my hobby corner for this. This is what we did in Germany. We baked the world's greatest supply of German Christmas cookies. So I can describe them for you. So here's a good one. These are Lebkuchen. You might see them a little, but homemade. They're fantastic. They have a sort of like something beneath that is like papery, but there's stuff you can eat. You have like a cinnamon mix over the top. It's just like a cake / biscuit, and then you cover it in chocolate, and that's lovely. You then got here, I can't even remember what they are, but it's just sugary, coconutty stuff. It's really, really nice. Lots of little things, and they're great for just like snacking away. You got these up here. These are just plain baking stuff, but quite a bit sugary, and then you put egg yolk on the top, and then put half a hazelnut in, which is what the little knobbin are up there. You have these, which is very similar to the other ones, but just funny shaped ones that are quite nice just to eat with lots of icing sugar on, or icing flour. I don't know. My wife is a better baker than I am. And then these are my favourite. 2 bits of pastry, like raspberry strawberry jam in between, covered in chocolate with sprinkles. They don't last in my house because I eat them. But yeah, we took a load back, but it was 4 days worth of baking. So that is my hobby corner for this. Overall, I thought a good start to TC, a 10-10. I'm really happy with that, especially against Undead. That's the best score I've ever had against Undead, and probably ever will again. So thank you very much. In terms of what went well, I think my avatar did well. I think I commanded the center quite well. I still don't, at least I remember on my Dryads, I remembered to rank them up properly from the start of the game this time. And I think I played well with everything, but maybe I wasn't quite aggressive enough with the Wild Huntsman. I was just quite concerned about his magic and shooting, but I may have had to push a bit harder. But otherwise, I was still very happy and a great game. Right, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching.